Hello, scholars. Sorry I couldn't be with you today, but birth of a child, kind of important. Um, if you haven't already, you should have the interim teacher go over the do now and the objective. They can follow the directions in the top right corner. If you haven't done that, go ahead and just pause this and let them do that. Okay, so you did it. All right. So the video is so that I can go over answers and things with you. I've made keys for a lot of it, but this way I can still explain it. The interim teacher should be able to still facilitate the agenda. Some quick reminders. Unit 2 Celebration of Knowledge is next Monday or Tuesday, depending on your period. All of the Unit 2 homework is due before then. I would suggest was just waiting till the day to turn it in, so the sub, I don't know if it's going to be the same sub, that way it's just all in one place, although ordinarily you could just turn it in any time before. Alright, so it's pages 1 through 8, so you picked up your last one today. I guess I'll delete this earlier. Again, I wouldn't advise it just because I don't know if it's going to be the same person. I put the homework key online. I don't typically do this, but since I'm not here to show you the binder with the key in it, if you want to look online to check your answers, you can go ahead and do so. If you have any questions, you can email me or try to find a tutor. Science honors students. I've gotten a couple people who turned in interest forms. If you are interested, it's a great program, great opportunity to really stretch yourself. Turn your forms into Miss Ozerski, please. She's in room 309 by this Tuesday. Okay, so paternity leave, let me just go over a couple things. I'll only take about 5 minutes here. So the interim teachers, they're not full teachers, obviously, but please, you got to respect them. You know, they're students, they're putting themselves out there, they're acting as leaders here. They're facilitators, but they're also participants. So they're still students, right? Still students. But they're also just going to explain kind of what each activity is and help try to make it feel like there's still a teacher kind of facilitating things. So on your paternity packet that you should have picked up, you'll see a calendar on the front. Okay, so there's 3 weeks that I'll be out. I might be back this Friday. I might be back the next Monday. I'm not really sure. First child, so I'm very new to this. I don't know how long I'll be out to be sure. All right. So it's the date. It gives you the topic that you're going to study. So like today, you're going to study the Big Bang Theory. Next class, you'll do some review. You'll have another reality check, exam. PSAT, we don't actually meet this day. Another reality check, number 4. You'll have your retake quiz for 1C, because I told you I'd give you that opportunity. You'll do the Unit 2 literacy, which I'm giving you the whole period. I don't think you'll need the whole period, but I figure I don't want to rush you. And, you know, a lot of you are using this as your retake for the Unit 0 and the Unit 1 literacy, because it can be used for both. So, you know, I really want you to have every opportunity to do well. Wednesday, we don't meet, you don't have classes because it's an all green dot day, and then I'll be in touch. You're going to study simple patterns on the periodic table. I just don't know if I'm going to facilitate it or if it's a interim teacher is going to facilitate it. Okay, so keep the paternity packet because it's got other stuff in it. It's got an answer key, exam study stuff, rubrics for whole class and individual participant. So anyway, don't lose that. Hang on to it. Okay. In the beginning of each lesson, I expect you guys to be in your seats by the bell with your do now out. So it should not take extra time. Not extra time. One of the big things that subs write on their notes to me is like, oh, they took 5 minutes to settle down. I hate hearing that because when I hear that, I hear students were acting like little children that needed a teacher to breathe down their neck for them to do what they know they were supposed to be doing. And that's not how I see you. I don't see you as someone who needs teachers to breathe down your neck to make sure you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. I see you guys as people who have ambitions and goals, and you know that an education is going to help you meet those goals, whether those goals are college or work, doesn't matter. Education's still going to help you. So you should not need extra time to start class. At the end of each lesson, I'll show you what the slide looks like. I'm going to give you an opportunity to do some reflection and feedback using the participant and the whole class rubric. So I'll give you a minute to look over the individual participant rubric, and I just want you to think about, like, where were you today, how would you rate yourself, and how can you get better? So you'll do this every day that I'm out. And your goal is to definitely be at level 4, possibly level 5. You should not get number 1 or really number 2, to be honest. But if you get number 3, just, reflect on it and think about how you can get back to level 4 or 5 for the next class. I'd also like you to invite the substitute teacher to review your behavior on the whole class rubric. Right? And so you can think about, how am I acting as an individual, and how are we acting as an entire class? Okay? Because you're not just individuals, you're also an entire class. So it's important to regulate your own behavior. I think this is an important piece. I might actually just incorporate it into my normal class. I don't know. We'll see how you guys like it, if it's useful. Okay, so that's beginning and end of each lesson. And then I just want to say one other thing. Not as much is changing as you might think. Yes, I'm not there, but the majority of what I do for you is I provide explanations, which I'm still going to do through the videos, and I provide materials, which I've already done. You have all the materials. And I treat you as adults when I'm here, and when I'm not here, like right now, I still expect you to behave as adults. And so when I come back and I read over all these sub-notes, over 3 weeks of sub-notes, or 2 weeks, or whatever it is, I expect them to have nothing but good things to say. Okay? So I'm excited to see you prove the people who, when I say I work in Inglewood, go, ooh, uh-oh. I'm excited to see you prove them wrong. So, yeah. All right. Moving on to today's lesson. All right, so the interim teacher can give you the directions here, but it's just in red. You're going to go into your groups and spend 12 minutes working through the 3 thinking questions on page 2.16. You might not get correct answers. That's okay. Just see how far you can get, and then we'll go over them. So after 12 minutes, come back to your seats, and we'll go over them. So pause the video right now, so it's not playing as your groups are talking. Okay, so I'm going to start going over these. Pause the video if you need to. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Sketch what happens to atoms in a sun goes forward in time. Well, we know suns are powered by fusion. And so if I'm going to sketch what happens to atoms as the sun goes forward in time, I'm basically just going to sketch fusion. So I could take 2 small nuclei, have them ram together with high speed, right? And then they're going to make a larger nucleus. And they're also going to release a lot of energy. Because remember, E equals mc squared, there's a little bit of mass that's being converted into a lot of energy because this speed of light term is so large. Okay, so that's question 1. That's just kind of review. Number 2, sketch what would happen to atoms if we went backwards in time. Well, if the atoms are getting bigger as we go forward in time, then backwards would just be, a large nucleus breaking into small atoms, right? And I should mention that, in this drawing, typically we think of this as hydrogen forming helium in the sun, but, in big stars, it could be, a bunch of helium. So this could be helium coming together and forming a big carbon. So, how else did we get things like iron and uranium and all those other things, right? So stars formed all the elements from hydrogen. Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, so if we went backwards in time, atoms would get smaller. Right? They just keep breaking down and breaking down and breaking down, because as we go forward, they're getting bigger. Okay. So if we went back as far as we could, what types of atoms might you expect to find? Well, if as we go backwards, they're breaking down, if as we go backwards, atoms break down, the opposite of what they do in the sun, then eventually we would be left with nothing but hydrogen or just elementary particles like protons and neutrons. Oh well, and I guess electrons would be in there too, although we don't really talk about them a lot when we're so focused on the nucleus. Okay, so hopefully you came up with something maybe sort of like that. If not, that's okay. Go ahead and turn to the next page. So there's a 2-page reading. There's no diagrams for this one, so you'll have to... Oh no, there actually are diagrams. Never mind, I lied. So read and annotate, page 17 and 18. And I want you focusing on this question. How does the composition, and composition just means what the universe is made of, what made of, support the Big Bang Theory? Okay, so pause the video, and then I'll highlight a couple of the most important points. Pause the video, read and annotate, discuss it as partners, and then as a whole class if you have time, and then unpause the video. Okay, go ahead, pause the video. Okay, so you read and annotate. I'm going to go over some main points in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Alright, so I want to go over this idea that the only thing that could have been made is basically helium, because everything else, if you look at, is unstable. So you start with the elementary particles of protons and neutrons. I hope this came out in the copies okay. And they're smashing together in this big hot plasma, but the only things that are stable enough are going to be helium-4 and then the hydrogen, which is basically just what you started with. Right? So all of this is predicted by the Big Bang Theory. Does that mean we know for sure that this is what happened? Well, no, but it's a good guess and it seems to work, so we use it, just like we used the model of the atom. If something comes along and disproves it, then okay, we'll change it then. Alright, so go ahead and practice these questions, which are on the next page, and the answer key for this is actually in the fraternity packet, so you can check your answer when you're ready to. Don't rely on it though. Really try this first, okay? If you have time, you can work on homework. I don't expect most classes to have time, but if you move really fast, you can. Alright, go ahead and pass out the exit slips and pause it until you're ready for me to actually go over the answers and grade it for you. Okay, so you've unpaused it because you're done with the exit slip and you're ready to see the graded, and so get a different color pen and go ahead and trade it and then grade, give it back so you get feedback. After that you can keep it because obviously I'm not going to be able to look at it. So good thing to study. Alright, so what's the universe mostly made up of? This one was just a right there question, so it's mostly hydrogen, that's 75%, and helium, that's 24%. And then why didn't other elements form during the Big Bang? Well, basically, they're not stable. Include a model in your answer. So I just stole the one from the notes. That one works. But if you had something like boom that goes like this, and then you just labeled it like unstable, and then you show it breaking down again, that would be a great model too. Honestly, maybe even better than this, because this just makes a claim it's unstable. It doesn't show what would happen. Alright, so hydrogen and helium, only stable outcomes. So you can put this out of 4. And then interim teacher, go ahead and take them through the reflection and feedback. You can pause it here if you need to look at the slide for notes.